My name is Chloe Ramirez, a wedding and portrait photographer from California, and you're listening to the Workflows Photography Podcast.
Mary Vance. We are in two different areas, both with beautiful days, and we're going to be digging into your workflows today, and I'm really excited about it. How you doing?
Oh, I'm doing great, Scott. Like you said, it's a beautiful day outside, and I've been having a little bit of dicey weather. Haven't been able to get out and behind my camera quite as much as I would like to, but I'm looking forward to it because the weather's, perking up now, and be behind my camera, outside, do some stuff. Yeah, that's kind of what I live for.
Yeah. So for those who don't know who you are yet, can you share what you photograph?
I primarily photograph high school seniors. There's always a little bit of confusion, for friends who are listening who maybe aren't from the United States. Mm-hmm. So I always add that high school in there because if I just say I photograph seniors, then sometimes people think I'm talking about, like pensioners or octogenarians. and it's not. I photograph 17 and 18-year-olds. I love working with teenagers. And also I do a lot of advocacy work around inclusion for the subjects, and the clients that I represent, inclusive of neurodiversity, gender inclusion, LGBTQIA+, as well as body inclusivity. And so I do a lot of education and speaking around, like differently abled kids and how we can support them and come along, and come along beside them in this milestone moment in their life.
Awesome. Now, I just want to differentiate because here in the U.S., high school seniors, right? There's different situations that photographers have. There's either like the really high volume where you're just doing an entire school in a day or whatever it might be, or there's the individual where like the parents might be hiring you for one-on-one sessions with their kids. Which side of that are you sitting in?
The second, definitely. The parent or the student hires me. I'm all outdoor, all natural light. So we will go, out into the world, and it's really meant to be more of a lifestyle view as opposed to, a high volume view that you would get with school photography. I offer school photography, and I've done that, probably for a decade as well. I do fine art school photography, but that again is a backdrop in a school, and you're moving through a lot of kids. So for my seniors, the real heart-centered piece of that for me is the actually getting to know them. Right. Yeah. And if you just got 2 or 3 minutes in front of the camera, as you're going through a large volume, that has its place and it's beautiful. It even has its own place in my business. But for my seniors and the work that I want to do with them, I really want to have a lot more connected time. And so, so my shoots are anywhere from 45 minutes to 2 hours, depending. And then if you add video in there, it can get up, 3.5 hours as well, for like a full feature film, or something like that. So I get to spend a lot of time
to dig into all that. to dig into all that. I know we're gonna get to some video talk later as well, which is really exciting. Now, this is a good segue into the first thing that is going very well in your high school senior business, knowing that it is either the student or the parent that's booking you. Let's talk about that because I know that's an area that's been working well for you. Can you dig into that process?
Yeah, I have a really seamless process for booking clients, and it came out of, honestly, a number of years of trial and error. I think when we all start, we kind of want to do that back and forth, and it's, you'll email them and you'll say, well, when's good for you? Oh, okay. Well, I have something, my kid's got the dentist on that day or whatever. And so from the beginning, I would get like frustrated, with the back and forth of booking me and when are you actually available? But at the same point, I wanted to make sure that I was keeping those sessions that were really connected and had a lot of time. So I couldn't offload, or hand it over to the parents to be like, oh, just get, like whenever you want. And I couldn't throw a full open calendar because we're outdoors and I'm using all natural light. So that somebody would come and schedule you at like noon on a Tuesday, and so trial and error over a couple of years at first. And I really honed my process down. So I use Squarespace, who's my website provider. And I use their commerce feature to completely book my client from the beginning. I release my schedule in March of the year. And then I don't start photographing seniors until about midway through July. And so my busy season runs from mid-July until the end of October. And so I release my calendar in March, and I don't have to send any emails back and forth. They can pick their date. They fill out all of their intake information. They fill out their disclaimers. They fill out their model release. They pay their deposit before I've ever seen them. I have honestly everything. So they fill out this one form. They see which days are available. They pick their date, all my stuff, and then I'm just ready to see them when there's a questionnaire on there. Yeah. I collect everything in that one transaction. So from March, whatever, usually mid-March sometime, so let's just say March 15th, when I release my calendar until July or August or September when I see them, I don't really have to do anything, with the clients that are booked. It's like they see my availability and they come in and then they're ready.
Yeah. It's interesting. So it's so common for photographers to utilize a tool like Calendly or their CRM, a Sprout Studio, a Tave, an Irisworks, one of those that has a scheduler built in as well. And it's not often you hear of somebody using Squarespace for that same task. And I'm wondering, that's a built-in feature of Squarespace that, do you have to go digging to find it, or is it just like a regularly available feature if you're in the commerce plan?
Yeah, it's funny. I actually spoke for Squarespace for Circle Day because I took two of their products that they didn't intend to be used in the way that they were used, but they were there. I'm already paying for my website. Right. And also the fewer number of clicks off of and away from my website that I can get, the better client retention you have, right? Like we've seen the data, I'm sure where, people have seen the data where it's like, okay, if you have to go from here and then you have to go to this other site and then you have to create an account over here and fill out something to add a form. And, every single step away from that initial, inquiry that you get, you have client drop off. And I didn't want that. And so it's the commerce feature. And then, so within my website, I had a business website. So I already had commerce built in. So I use the commerce feature. And then I use forms. So they have forms on there where you can go through and I can collect all the information that I need without having to move it to a separate CRM, right? They can sign their disclaimers. They can pay their deposit because I'm using commerce, right? I can showcase my work. I can have my availability just posted at the top flag. Click here to book now, and I can have all the backlinks within my website. Super easy. And then I also use their email campaigns and I set up automations. So as soon as someone pays their deposit and secures their date, of course, they're going to get a receipt that's automatically sent from commerce. But then I have an email automation that's set up that says, okay, in 15 minutes, send them my client guide. And guess where my client guide is? Right back on my website. So I'm keeping that traffic continually just generated throughout my website. They're not clicking off or going anywhere else. And then they have their client guide. They have all of the information there that's right at their fingertips. I send reminder emails, and so I can set those up in automations as well. I can say, okay, a month after someone purchases this product, I want you to send them this email, right? Or 6 weeks after they do that, I want you to send them this. And so it's highly customizable and really, honestly, really effective. So they feel like I'm constantly, communicating them because you book me in March, right? And maybe you don't see me until September. That's a long time to go, And so just by setting up the automations, then I'm in contact with them. So they know I didn't just pay a deposit and is she going to show up? Is she not? So I have all of that set up, and then it makes it so that I don't have to do anything with that booked senior until the week before the photo shoot. And then I'll send them an email and I'll say, oh, hey, I saw that on your form. You selected a waterfront location. Here are 3 great waterfront locations in your area. What's your choice? Right. And then they'll choose. And then I say, okay, I'll meet you here at this time.
So you're effectively using Squarespace as your CRM. And I'm wondering, are you also connecting it to a CRM of sorts to also manage the business in the back end that doesn't live on your site? There's no wrong way about it. Of course, because there's so many different methods you could do with anything. But I'm just wondering, it's so common for photographers to use CRMs, and you're doing it, but you're not using a traditional one, which is so interesting. Are you using one, or are you managing it 100% from Squarespace?
100% from Squarespace on the front end. And then the back end, I transfer over to my gallery provider, which is Shootproof. Right. And so I don't need and so I know a lot of people who will have website and gallery provider, right? You know, whoever that is, and a CRM. And so I take that additional CRM step out.
Yeah.
And honestly, it's one less thing that I have to pay for. It's one less thing that I have to manage, one less platform that I have to figure out and go into. And I realized a long time ago, the more time that I can spend behind a camera, the more money that I'll make, as opposed to behind a computer.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
so what I do is I'll transfer over. Now, if you had a volume of like, I don't know, 100, 200, 250, right? Seniors. Now, what I am talking about, I do, I don't double book on a single day, right? And I only work X number of days a week. I never work on weekends with my senior clients because it always gets just too crowded in the parks and stuff like that. And also, I like my weekends. I want to have time with my family, as well. And so I book them during the week. And then sometime probably around last week of June, first week of July, which I'm usually already sold out by that time for the whole season, all the spaces that I have, I go in and I just move all that. You just download a spreadsheet, copy and paste, put it right into Squarespace. I generate the final invoices there, not Squarespace, it's Shootproof. I move it on to Shootproof. Generate final invoices there. I go ahead and generate their galleries. So galleries are set up and they're ready for me to drop photos into just as soon as I need to. And then, they can pay their balance right there. That's due like a week before their session. And it's pretty seamless. I don't do, like I said, I don't do that volume. So I'm not 150, 200 seniors. I'm closer to 40 to 50, but that 40 to 50 is it's just a really tight process.
Yeah. When you send it to Shootproof, are you going directly through the website using a Lightroom plugin? What's that look like for you?
For galleries, there's a desktop uploader. I think there's a Lightroom plugin as well. Usually what I have done in the past, actually, and this is like, I'm like, okay, this one is probably not like super efficient workflow wise, but it works for me, is that I pay my kid $25 to sit down. I pay my kid $25 to sit down for about 30 minutes and just put their things. And I'm like, okay, add their contact here, generate their invoice, and do this. And they do 1, 2, 3, and they do that in Shootproof. So it's all already set up for me. Nice. And it's, like I said, it's a couple of clicks that they just do and copy pasta. There probably is a more elegant or tech savvy way to do it.
Well, hopefully in the now or the future, because we're recording this way before this episode airs, so you never know. But hopefully at some point, and if we're lucky now, Imagen has integration with Shootproof, and we can go right from your final edits in Imagen straight to Shootproof, and that'll save you even more time. So we'll see what happens.
I love that.
Okay, so is there anything else in your workflow that you want to share that's been working really well beyond Squarespace and that sort of, part of the business, whether it's something that's going really well in, like, when you're behind the camera, right? It doesn't have to be the business specific, but like, for example, you're photographing during the week, as you said, which in itself is a really nice workflow because it does give you that your weekend time to spend with family or do nothing, which is always nice. I mean, maybe that's it. Unless there's something else that might become on the top of your mind right now that is going well.
Yeah, my editing workflow, has moved, obviously has decreased since I onboarded Imagen in, I don't know, it was either 2022 or 2023. And the thing about that it was just the best timing ever. The universe or something just pulled it right. The same year that I onboarded Imagen, one of my kiddos had like some health problems. And so smack in the middle of my busy season where I'm doing Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, Thursday, Friday, Wednesday, I'm doing at least four sessions a week. And you're just clicking through those really, really quickly, especially when you're in the middle of your busy season. Yeah. And right in the middle of that, I had to take off 4 weeks. 4 weeks in a busy season that's only a couple of months anyway, to be with and care for my kiddo. And the only way that I could get all of those seniors' photos, I delivered not a single one past my window that I tell them when they sign up for me, past my editing window. And that was because I came home from every session, I would import, I would call them immediately, and then I could just send them off. And they would come back, and it was so much easier for me to take the time to be with my kiddo while they were recovering, from their major surgery. And that, honestly, I was like, man, that was one of those workflows that I was like, if I hadn't set this up ahead of time, I would have been like back to like when you're, a brand new photographer and you're just sitting there editing until the wee hours of the night, or if it's when you first just become like a hobbyist, or whatever, and you have like your day job and then you're trying to make this photography thing work. And if I hadn't had that workflow set up at that point, oh my gosh. So that's something that goes really well. And now I'm like, well, now that I don't have, hopefully don't have any more family medical leave, drastic family medical leave that we have to adjust sessions for, right? Now I can just take more sessions, right? Because I have the time in my, in my workflow and in my day.
Yeah. So a couple things on that. One is not that we ever wish to have anybody get sick or have some sort of health issue or whatnot, but knowing that Imagen's able to help with your business during that time is one of the things that makes us so happy that we're able to produce a quality product. It's like you hate hearing the stories, but you love hearing the stories because it motivates you to do it even better. And it as you're saying it reminds me of a very early episode of the show that I recommend everybody listen to with Hannah Hall. I think it was like episode 4 or 5. It was a while back. And she was in a car accident and almost lost her arm. And the only thing that enabled her to, deliver all of her sessions while she was laying, in bed after multiple surgeries was setting up her profile with Imagen and knocking them all out through Imagen. So, and that was a while ago, and it's come a long way since then. So it's a beautiful thing that we're able to play a small role in helping your business while you're going through a lot of tough times with your kiddo. So then it continues to serve you moving forward, right? Because you either get to work less, right? Or you get to take more sessions and increase your profits, right? So it really is setting up, making sure you have your workflow set up. It's crucial. The other thing that it made me think about is you are living out east, right?
Yes. I live on the East Coast now.
You were living out west for a little.
I was in Seattle.
You're back east again.
Almost 15 years. Yeah.
So you've gone through a pretty major physical move from West Coast back to East Coast.
Yes.
And your business is still running. You're still booking. You're still editing and delivering. And again, this is all part of having a solid workflow in place, being able to make that possible. So now I want to shift gears a little bit because I love the term hybrid, right? You're a photographer, but you also do video work.
I do.
Can you share, before we dive into what is an area where you're struggling and working on, can you share a little bit about how that fits in your business, the combination?
Yeah. So, some people will use the word hybrid when they talk about using, in photography, digital and film, right? And they'll say I'm a hybrid photographer. So just to be very clear, what I'm talking about is doing still photography and also videography that's attached and doing them within the exact same session. So very few people offer video to begin with. I think the last time I checked the statistic at one of the larger conferences that we go to, it was something like only 32% of people who have of photographers who have the capability to offer video within their business do, right? And so if you just looked at what, whatever you call your competition in your area, right? And you say, okay, I can get ahead of, that fast, 68% of them by offering video. I have the tools to do it. Why wouldn't you? Yeah. Right. So I tell people, I'm like, look, if you can offer video, especially if you can offer it in that exact same session where you're already there. And that's what I call a hybrid session. So photography, stills, and then video as well during the same session. It adds very little overhead to my time invested, in my workflow with them. And then, but it has the potential to like 3x your profits from a single session. So I love it. I love doing it. With seniors, this looks like filming, several times it'll be like, okay, I'll put them in a pose, and I love to have movement in poses anyway. So we'll be doing, movement in a pose or something. I'll photograph it with stills and flick over to video. And then I say, okay, do it again. And they do it again. And we video the same piece. I add an interview in as well. So the finished product looks like, honestly, a very heartfelt glimpse into who this senior is. And so we talk in the interview about, I want them to be, kind of nostalgic, looking backwards, and saying like, oh, these are the steps that got me to this milestone moment, right? All the steps that got me to this milestone moment. And then I also want them to be dreamy, to start projecting like, where might you be going, in the future? And so we do that through the interview. We transpose all the B-reel and all the interview footage. And then we kind of weave this storytelling narrative of who this child is at this, point in their development where they're right on the precipice of becoming an adult, kind of what their hopes and dreams are, and then deliver that final product to a parent. And, oh my gosh, like I get teary watching them, so I can't even imagine what moms think, when they see the final product. But that's how I incorporate video into my senior workflow.
When you flip it to video, so I shoot with a Nikon Z7 II and a Nikon ZF, or for those not in the US, a Nikon Z. And so when you switch it to video, I know with my cameras, if I hit the shutter button, it's capturing a JPEG for me. So I still get a still out of it.
Yeah, you can. Do
you do that with when you're shooting video? When you flip that to video, are you now still capturing stills, which is basically just taking a frame out of the, frames per second from the camera, but it's something still on the fly. It may not be raw, but you're getting that still while getting the JPEG, while getting the video. Is that something you do?
I don't hit the shutter while I'm in video mode. Your settings persist on my cameras as well. So I have two Nikon Z7 IIs. I've always been a Nikon photographer, but especially when I made the shift and went to their mirrorless, it was just like the autofocus. And especially for someone who offers video at the same session, right? I need to be able to flick back and forth. But so your settings persist. So whatever you had your settings for your photography and whatever you have your settings for your video, there's a setting where you can make sure that, like if I flip over to video and my settings are different, right? Because obviously you don't have to worry about shutter speed in the same way for a video that you do for a photo because your shutter's not, it's not actually opening and closing, right? It just opens and it stays open. So, sometimes you'll have like mildly different settings and they persist. So if I'm in that lighting situation and I want to flick back over to photo, to catch something, then I am capturing that photo in RAW. And then I flip over to video and I'm capturing the high-res video file. In terms of JPEGs, so I don't edit in JPEG. I don't deliver all my stills. So pulling a JPEG in the moment I guess I could. And I know a lot of people say they're like, oh, I'm really worried that I'm going to miss like that great photo moment. But my camera is such a high resolution anyway that the video files that I'm taking, I can pull a JPEG in post, right? And, as a senior photographer, I also am not having to blow something up to billboard size, right? And even a JPEG pulled from like a 4K video, right? Like it's gonna, I could make something really big from it. So if I'm like, oh, I really want that second as a still, then I'll pull it from the video file later, usually instead of interrupting the video to take a still.
Yeah.
JPEG.
Now, so I photograph a lot of surprise proposals here in New Jersey, and I offer video. I actually add it as a value add for mine because I don't flip it to video mode on my Nikon bodies. Instead, I'm attaching a GoPro to the camera, and I have a Insta360, one of those little magnet ones that go on in my chest. And so I actually have that going for every proposal session, just as a, hey, I also captured a video of this for you. I'm not going through a full long, editing process to make it more of a story. I'm just producing this for you. I'm going to throw some music on it, and that way you can relive it on with video along with the stills that you're paying for. And that's worked out very well. So in a way, I'm also hybrid photo video, but also, but also not. I trust my skills with still work. I don't trust myself yet flipping back and forth.
Yeah.
To know that I'll produce the quality I want to produce, that I would want to produce if I was doing it that approach.
Yeah.
Plus in a proposal, you're very little time.
Very little time. So. It's like you got the moment and that's it.
Yeah. So having the GoPro on top of the main camera and then having another action cam just attached to my body just going has worked out very well. Sound
would be the other thing that right? Like that would be really difficult with video with a proposal. And maybe, let's ask this question of one of our, wedding videographers or something like that, somebody else is out there because, right, like having a microphone strapped to to whomever is doing the proposing, right? Like, well, that's a dead giveaway right there, and so how do you get that quality sound of the conversation, and
if you were doing it where you're actually truly flipping back and forth in your camera, miking it up would be valuable, but also very difficult. The approach that I take, I don't even worry about the conversation. Like I don't want me as the photographer, I'm staying far back. I actually don't want to hear what they're saying.
Yeah.
It's not for you. It's not my concern, right? Yeah, it's not for me. So for me, it's just document, and in the video, if you hear it, great. If I'm close enough at that point and you hear it, great. Otherwise, I'm just throwing music on it and just making it enjoyable,
Yeah.
So they have that memory. But so you're doing a lot of video work alongside these stills, as you just explained. What area of the video work has been a struggle that you're hoping to, or actively working on bettering?
Yeah. So a huge game changer for me in being able to offer these the way that I do offer these is having an editor that I outsource to. Video editing for me, what I found over time is that I was being entirely too precious about it, right? Like down to the millisecond cuts, and stuff. And it just eats up entirely too much of my time in order for it to be really valuable from a profitability kind of standpoint. So I decided to outsource my editing. I love outsourcing my editing of the video in terms of the piece that they really deliver really well on is the compilation, right? Put it together, right? I give very specific instructions about how I want the flow and the storytelling, right? And I'll say, this kid talked about like how awesome his mom is. Like, can we put that near the end with with the clips of him hugging his mom, right? Or whatever that might be. So the knocking it together, right? The timeline of it, my editors do a really great job with. The piece that is trickier, that has been trickier for a while, is making sure that the way that I edit my photography and my stills translates to the video, and especially in the color grading. Color grading in video is done in a different way because you're not just correcting color at one point in time. You're correcting over time, and sometimes that can be over a gradient, right? So if we shift and we move from the water, the river where they are, and we shift and we, go towards the trees in that same clip. And I want to be able to use the same clip, but I'm looking at drastically different color balance, right? In terms of what are these greens doing over here, and what is this? And so color grading has been the other area, making sure that my video matches the color grading on my photography. And I'm like, oh, that's been one area that I'm like, I would like to have that process buttoned down a little bit better, because my editors are great knocking it together, but the color grading, they don't have a Mary Vance profile,
Right.
on that, or I haven't created a LUT yet, and I probably should, but yeah.
And so you are when you flip it to your camera to video, it is recording in log.
No, I'm not recording in log. But I do no, I'm not recording in log. I don't know if I don't know if it's MP4 or actually, I don't remember what the raw version of my thing is. It's just whatever the highest, no, I actually might not record.
Or are you doing
highest.
like the Nikon like neutral profile? So that way at least it's like flat. There's no, like, Nikon's not choosing your saturation and your contrast and stuff.
No. I do keep neutral. Okay. And then and also Kelvin for color, and that will save you so much, because even if your Kelvin, even if your white balance is off a lot, and that honestly, like, white balance is most of what I would do work with when I say color grading, right? And you can get a lot more in depth. And, like I've learned how to go into all the models and, like really work with and fine tweak. But white balance is the biggest thing. And so that's a game changer too for people who are doing video, is if they're not already shooting in Kelvin, which I do for my photography and my video, but you have to do it in Kelvin or in something that is consistent for your video. Because, if you put on an auto and again, you make that shift, then the camera's going to, they'll change the white balance on you. Yeah. And so it's better to have it, even if it's off, it's better to have it consistently off, because then you can go in and you can say, okay, for this entire clip, I need you to change, right? As opposed to trying to keep up with it again. Anytime you're trying to add correct color or white balance over time, it's a nightmare. So yeah.
Could you see AI, like over the past 4 years, I'd imagine that has existed, AI in the photography space has grown immensely, evolved immensely, gotten so much smarter, more accurate, etc. Could you see a lot of that porting over to video? And if so, what would you envision that kind of looking like, to as far as how it pertains to your business?
So from a user perspective, right, and not knowing and understanding the capabilities of AI, I think most all of us are just in awe. When we see it, we're like, wow, that did that. There are details and values that I would assume that an AI can scan through, right? That could happen in the snap of a finger, as opposed to me sitting there and trying to zoom in, and be like, okay, I found this pixel is the perfect gray. Let me try to, track this throughout the, the duration of the clip, right? So for me, I would say that I think color grading with AI in video, especially color grading to match what my photography profile is going to look like, that would just be like game changer for me. And I'd be able to just like color grade the clips. Actually, that would be super helpful too. If I could color grade the clips before I sent them to my editor to knock it together. So then I know that their project that they're knocking together is all already it's already in my style. And I don't have to say, could you kind of go back and fix the greens on this? They look neon, or whatever. And that honestly, I think would make it that much faster for my editors.
Do you think that the way that you send your clips to your editor and explain the story, what you want from the story, do you think that's something that AI could also replicate at some point? Or do you think that it changes from client to client too much for AI to truly understand?
I think it depends. Yes, I think that AI would be capable of doing that, right? I honestly, like what everybody's first experience is, it's like a chat GPT, right? And so I've gone in and I've trained custom GPTs to sound like me, right? So I send them a body of my work. I send them blog posts and emails and, and things like this. And I made one that sounds like it quite literally comes from Mary Vance Photography, right? So this is how I've communicated with all of my clients. And I think that anything that you can template like that, I think that AI can help with. And I also think that the more consistency you have within your work, then the easier it is for AI to replicate it. So this is not for high school senior videos, but for brand videos, I have a very set process for brand videos that is a scripting process that I learned from Patrice Pulsar. I don't know if you know her or not. She used to be a Today Show producer. And I took her Video Mastermind course a long time ago for the script writing side of things. And that is a beautiful process. But before I, push a shutter or press record or anything, I already have the entire script for what this video is going to look like laid out. And so, generating those scripts, I think AI could help with the generation for the script. And it could be something where, for each individual business, you pull from that client intake questionnaire and they say, I want my business to feel this, this, and this. Cool. And so it's like, write me a script that's going to be 90 seconds long, which is, I don't know, it's like 150 words is a minute, maybe. I'm not sure. I don't remember off the top of my head, but, you can say this many words, write me a script for this, right? And then I have that output to just send to my editor, and it's that much easier, to say, this is the storyline, here's the order that I want, the voiceover or, the interview footage to go. So could be really cool. Yeah.
Yeah. AI is it really is a beautiful thing when utilized correctly.
Yeah. Yeah.
It really is. It really
I
is.
like it. For me, the correct utilization of it is when it's based off of my own work and my own creativity.
Yeah.
Right.
100%.
And so it's, we always, anybody who's in business, entrepreneurial or anything, what's the first thing they always say? I wish I could just clone myself. Right. And it's like, well, you're not cloning yourself, but you are you're taking all of your own original thoughts, your own original, artwork, if it's photography or your own videos, and you're using that and then you're putting it in and saying, okay, do it the way that I did it. And AI is like, yes, ma'am.
Gotcha.
And then they do. And so that for me is the piece of it that's so beautiful is the being based on my own work and being able to consistently deliver that. So, yeah.
Amazing. Mary Vance, this has been such a fantastic conversation. I love that we got to explore this. I spoke to someone that you know very well, Lena Blair, not too long ago. And she specifically talked about the volume schoolwork that she does, the fine art schoolwork. And I'm so glad that we're able to talk about, your side of this, that's your favorite, and you get to do these stories and incorporate video into it. It's just it's so fun to talk about this. And I'm glad that you're able to come on and share all this with us and share what's working, what's not working, and what you're hoping to improve. And hopefully Imagen can help with all of it.
Oh, yeah. No, Scott, any day that I get to talk to you and any day that I get to talk about Imagen is actually a really good day for me. I tell people all the time, I'm like, I will shout it from the rooftops because of the amount of time that I have saved and the amount of people that I've been able to serve as a result of that time saved. So, yeah, for me, it was a game changer.
Amazing. One final thing, can you please share where listeners can learn more about you, connect with you, and of course, see your beautiful photography?
Yeah, so my website is my name, maryvance.com. Most of my socials are the same, Mary Vance or Mary Vance Photography. Please reach out to me, send me a DM if you have any questions. You can email me, hello@maryvance.com. Yeah, and I love to hear from people, if you have questions about my workflow, and stuff like that. I'm happy to point you, kind of in some directions, in some right ways. So, yeah.
Amazing. Thank you very much.
You're very welcome.
You have been listening to the Workflows Photography Podcast. To hear more from Workflows, to learn more about our guest, and for an exclusive offer for Workflows listeners, please go to workflowspodcast.com. And be sure to subscribe to the podcast on Apple Podcast, Spotify, or wherever you listen to podcasts. Thank you for tuning in. Until next time.